Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is part one of a 5-part kind of mini-series I'm going to be putting out both on my YouTube and my blog page, where I'm going to be talking about 5 of the main challenges that I faced whilst losing my hair and also thereafter. So yeah, like I said, they will be on my blog page as well if you prefer to read rather than watch a video and vice versa. So for the first one that I wanted to talk through, and this is actually one of the ones that I think I found the hardest and still do, and that is actually coping with a changing appearance. So as I detailed in my alopecia story video, my hair loss progressed really quickly. So my appearance as such, how I recognised myself when I looked in the mirror, what I looked like, did change quite drastically. So initially it went from a full head of hair to patches, which thinned out very fast, and then it progressed really quickly from areata into totalis, and I started wearing a wig. So that was initially a change, and then following that I lost all of my hair. So yeah, there was quite a lot to process in a quite short space of time. So some of the things I'm going to be talking about are just a few pointers that I've picked up along the way, a few tips that have helped me kind of deal with my changing appearance. So for the first one, and it may seem the most obvious, but it is something that I did quite find hard to do, and that is just talking about it. So initially when I was losing my hair, I didn't really want to talk about it. I was a little bit in denial. I still had kind of a lot of hope that what was happening to me would stop or just recover, and I didn't really want to accept the fact that I was losing my hair because it made it real. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but it can be almost like easier to just ignore it and kind of just try and carry on and not really process it. But that actually did me more harm than good in the long run. And by not talking about it, my family, friends, partner, and people around me weren't really able to support me in the way that I needed because they didn't really understand what I was feeling. Obviously they could physically see what I was going through, my hair loss was thinning, etc. But what you're actually processing inside, if you don't portray that to people around you, there's no way that they're actually going to help you. And as soon as I started kind of like talking it through in a little bit more detail, and even some of the darker thoughts I had, I was going through quite a little bit of depression. I was really upset and really struggling with it in my mind, really. By actually speaking through those things, it made me realise that they're not as crazy as I think, and actually they're justified. At any stage of your hair loss, whether you've got patches, full head of hair, your hair's regrowing and going again, I can imagine it's a similar sort of process because for me it was at every stage. And yeah, I really found that actually just talking it through in quite a lot of depth with those around me, no matter how hard it is or how much you don't really want to speak about it, it is a little bit of a weight off your shoulders. A problem spoken is a problem shared, and it's a problem halved, and that is definitely true for me with hair loss. So as well as just talking to my family, friends and partner and the people that were close to me, I also reached out to, at the time, where I was working. So initially when I was at university, I would sit down and speak with my supervisors quite often just about some of the challenges I was facing with my work as a result of hair loss, and they're very understanding. And by being quite open about that, I found they weren't necessarily more lenient towards me having additional time for my work or anything, but they were just a little bit more understanding of what I was going through, and that really helped me, just to know that other people understood and knew what was going on. But also when I started my first job, I actually reached out to like the support there and the support system they have, and I was able to have just a couple of phone calls on just to talk to like a phone counsellor as such, just to talk through some of the things that I was feeling, and that helped me a huge amount because I wasn't actually offered any sort of like therapy, counselling or the support on the mental side of things from my GP or any dermatologist that I saw. And yeah, I mean, I do wish that I had have sought that out, but at the time I didn't really want to talk about it that much, but I really do wish I had initially, because now I've got to the stage whereby I am more accepting of my hair loss. I do see how much that would have helped me actually process it a little bit quicker, and I think the whole thing would have been a little bit easier for me. So as well as having these couple of phone calls, I did find them to be very helpful. I do know as well that online there's quite a lot of support. So Mind UK, for example, you can call and chat to at any time. Also, Alopecia UK themselves, they've got a couple of support groups. So one of them is actually online, whereby you can sign up and you can post questions, concerns, or discuss anything about hair loss. And other people with hair loss that are also signed up can come back to you and offer advice and support, which is really good. I've visited that website quite a few times. And also something else that Alopecia UK do are support groups, whereby people with alopecia in your local area can actually all get together, and it's like a support system, because I've never met anybody else with alopecia universalis. I've got some family members with some different forms of alopecia, but I've never met anybody else in person that has hair loss like me, and it can feel quite lonely as such when you're going through that process. So my local area doesn't actually have a group, although they're in the process of setting one up, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, if you're in a position whereby you're feeling like you want to talk to somebody, even if it's not somebody close to you, then there are loads of different things and support systems out there that you can reach out to. So definitely check out Alopecia UK's website for their support group. I'll link it down below as well. So the second thing that helped me with processing with kind of my changing appearance and how quickly I lost my hair was different kind of cover-ups. So when I first got my patches, I was using a lot of root sprays. I was also using a lot of powder, like just eyeshadow, just with a giant brush, dabbing it onto my bald patches, and also something called Topic, which I have spoken about in my previous video, but they're like tiny little microfiber hair replacement things that you like shake onto your patches. So I was using those in the initial stages, which really helped me just to feel like covered up and happy to go out and back to work and into the lab, into university, and worry a little bit less about it. But as my hair loss progressed, I didn't actually look into any sort of turbans or scarves or big headbands or anything. Because of how quickly it progressed, I basically went straight to a wig. Once those powders and sprays weren't really covering it up for me, I did just opt for a wig. But there are loads of different headwear out there, and you can get them for pretty cheap actually. If you look on Amazon or even small local sellers, especially Etsy and things like that, you can find some really beautifully like handmade things that are really comfortable and suitable for you. So definitely, if you are going through hair loss, take the time just to buy a few different options and see what works for you and what you feel most comfortable in. Even wigs, you don't need to spend a huge amount. You can get fairly cheap wigs, and if they're a little bit uncomfortable, line them with a scarf, put a beanie or a hat on top, and you're good to go. You don't need to break the bank to get some headwear that works for you. But yeah, just take a little bit of time just to have a look around and see what does work for you. For me, it was those sprays and like smaller cover-ups until my hair loss got too bad, and then I did opt for wigs. But now, for example, if I'm going out and I don't feel too comfortable on that day, because I still do have days whereby I don't want to go out bald, I generally just stick on a beanie hat. Also, my head gets really cold, so I quite often just wear a beanie hat. So the third thing that I used to help me process my changing appearance was makeup. So before I lost my hair, I used to absolutely love doing my makeup, especially eyeshadows. I started watching loads of like beauty gurus on YouTube and like experimenting with makeup, and I was absolutely loving it. But once I started losing my eyelashes and eyebrows, I kind of stopped it for a little while, because when you lose your eyelashes, I found that my foundation, my concealer, my eyeshadow, it was actually getting into my eyes and making my eyes very sore. So I did stop using makeup for a little while, and then after a few months of, when I lost my eyebrows, that wasn't too much of a problem because I do have them microbladed. But my eyelashes for me were one of the things that really made me feel like I'd lost my sense of identity of my face. And in a way, losing my eyelashes, I missed a little bit more than my actual head hair, because I really struggled to put on fake eyelashes, and I still do. And the way I worked around this was basically I'd focus on one thing at a time. So I'm quite familiar with filling in my eyebrows. Even with my microblading, I do like to fill in with a little bit of powder sometimes, if I'm going out for a nice meal. Most of the time I don't. But if I am doing my makeup, I'm already quite comfortable doing my eyebrows. And the way I actually learned to do that was just by watching YouTube tutorials. And I bought a few different like brow products. I bought some like what is it called? It's like a brow liquid that I was like brushing on. Also powders. I prefer to use powders, but it's completely up to you, whatever works best for you and your eyebrows and shapes. And yeah, with the eyelashes, That is the thing that I found the hardest. So what I did was each day I allocated 10 to 20 minutes whereby I just sat down, not when I'm getting ready for work, it was just of an evening after dinner, nice and relaxed, and I'd just play around with them and watch quite a few YouTube videos, tutorials, and how to apply them. I did start to get there and I haven't quite managed it, but I did find that just by taking a little bit of time out of your day, just on your own, bit of music, just sitting in your room or wherever it is you do your makeup, in a stress-free environment, don't put any pressure on yourself to learn how to do everything all at once. Just take the time to learn how to apply them, basically. That would be my advice for that. That is something I do actually need to do a little bit more because I still haven't mastered the eyelashes at all. So the final thing for me that I found to be really helpful was actually to do with the photos that I had in my house. So like I said, I'd lost my hair really rapidly, and all the pictures in my house, in those few months, I hadn't really taken many photos of my changing appearance because I didn't really want to, if I'm honest. And all the photos I had up were from like years ago and up to quite recently, whereby I still had my like lovely thick brown long hair, basically. And I actually found that looking at these photos were kind of upsetting me a lot. So I went through a stage where I didn't want to look in mirrors. I used to turn them round. I used to get quite angry about it, but that's for another story. But for me, it was definitely the photos that were kind of reminding me of what I was going through and what I was losing, and it did make it a little bit harder to process my changing appearance, because I'd walk around my house and see these photos, just as you do, not necessarily standing staring at them, but just seeing them. Then I'd walk past a mirror and it would be something completely different. That did lead to me wanting to avoid mirrors and also feeling quite negatively just about my appearance. So what I did is once I got my first wig, I got my synthetic wig, and also once I got my human hair wigs, I printed out and got some photos developed of me in those, so that when I was walking around, it was just kind of helping me to adapt to my new appearance a little bit more, and it was actually helping to reduce my anxiety at home, because for me, when losing my hair, being at home was like my safe place. I didn't wear my wigs at home, I didn't cover it up, I just was walking around with patches, strags of hair, like, whatever. It was my kind of like safe haven, and to have that constantly reminding me, I did find in the initial stages of losing my hair that it was a little bit detrimental. So if you're struggling with, for example, how you did look and then how things are changing, especially if you are wearing, scarves or wigs or even being bald, I would recommend just getting some pictures out of your house in your home, just so, also keep the ones of you before, because it's not, you shouldn't completely avoid that, because I don't think that's good either. But for me personally, it did just help me to kind of get used to my new appearance in a little bit of a more relaxed way in my own home too. Those are like four of the main things that I found helpful when I was going through my hair loss, and also now, and I still use quite a lot of these tips. The main one I do need to work on is the makeup one, but equally I'm quite happy without makeup, but obviously when I do go on a night out, it would be quite nice to learn to do it, but I don't have the best patience, so that is something I need to work on. I hope these tips helped you, whether you're going through hair loss yourself or know somebody that is. Feel free to pass some of these on to them, and if you've got any other tips as well that have helped you process it, then please do let me know and reach out to me down below in the comments or on my Instagram. I would love to hear them and potentially add it into my blog post, just to, we have a collection of all different tips that can help people going through the same thing. If you haven't already, then please do like and subscribe, and keep an eye out for the next 4 videos that are coming, with 4 other challenges that I've faced whilst losing my hair, and some of the tips that I personally have found have helped me to overcome them. Thank you for watching.